Hello, everyone. My name is John Butero, and I haven't done a video in a while. I was hoping to get back to doing some new videos as far as Christian messages, but I really didn't intend to try to do one on my phone today. But I've had some experiences on YouTube lately, and I felt like I did need to address some things. When I was just going through some of the different YouTube videos that were coming up, I came across something that I hadn't seen before, and that's a whole bunch of videos on the topic of deconstructing Christianity. And the first group that I came across by purely by accident was this lady named Christy Burke, I believe was her name. And I watched several of her videos, and I wanted to address basically the whole topic of this deconstructing Christianity movement and my thoughts about it. One of the things that I noticed is that a lot of the things that I'm seeing that people are complaining about and how that they used to be believers and now they're not anymore is that a lot of the things that they're complaining about are actually complaints they have about God. They're not really things that you would look at and think, okay, well, this is going to make a person not believe in God anymore. They look more like things that people just don't like about God. You know, they discovered about Him, and so they don't like Him anymore. So that seems like what most of their stuff is. Not everything, but a lot of the stuff that they're actually putting online is actually complaints about God. And this lady, Christy, I noticed that when I was watching her introductory message, one where she was talking about how it is that she began to question whether or not God was real, her biggest complaint at the start was over learning about the doctrine of predestination and election in Romans, and she hadn't heard about it at her church. And at first she didn't believe it. And then later on, she came to see, well, it actually is in the Bible. And as a result of that, she began this deconstructing idea. And eventually she came where she didn't believe in God anymore. Well, that seems a little bit strange to me because I don't see how finding out a doctrine in the Bible would get you to question whether God's real. What it would make me do is become kind of upset with people that I had trusted to teach me correctly for not teaching me what the Bible really says. But in her case, it supposedly led her on this journey to where she doesn't believe in God. But if you watch most of her videos, almost all of them are complaints about God. You know, God really isn't good. God really isn't all loving. You know, here's examples where Jesus wasn't all loving and so forth. And it's like she didn't really know a lot about the Bible before, or she was overlooking things, and she was just kind of just, going on about, living the Christian life. And um, there's a few things I want to say about this, but I really want to address for any of these deconstructing people, my biggest complaint with the deconstructing videos and the whole idea of this. I haven't come across anybody in the deconstructing videos thus far where they really are doing anything except bringing up questions and attacks on Christianity. I am not seeing them giving any answers to how we are even here. What they're doing is they're putting Christians on the defensive by getting them to answer questions about their Bible, things that are in the Bible that they claim are not accurate. A lot of the time they're measuring accuracy by science, and they're claiming that the Bible's wrong. They're claiming there's contradictions and junk like that, and they're trying to get Christians to respond to that. And there's another problem that's going on too, as far as why this creates a problem for Christians being put on the defensive like this. The Christians that are being put on the defensive oftentimes are not defending God and the Bible. They're defending doctrines, and the doctrines are not altogether correct. So it's making them look bad. It's making them look like they can't answer the questions about anything. Well, the problem is a lot of doctrines that are being taught today are not really biblical. And one of the complaints that I've had, even as a Christian, and I am still a Christian, but one of the problems that I have seen in the churches is that a lot of the preachers are more involved in doctrine than they are biblical truth. And a lot of them are more concerned with making God likable to the masses and acceptable to this generation of people, especially seeker friendly type churches. They're more concerned with that than biblical truth, and they will shy away from a lot of hard things in the Bible. Well, that only leads to this kind of stuff, like Christy and others. They come across some of this stuff when they're seeking answers to things in the Bible, and they're finding out that the things they were taught were not true. I have tried to talk to ministers about this before, and a lot of them have gotten upset with me for some of the things they've said, and I've even had them, make comments like, "Well, unless you understand the nature of God, you really don't understand the Bible and can't have a right relationship with them," and stuff like that. And basically, they're trying to make God to be, I guess, acceptable to even to them sometimes, rather than just accepting what the Bible says. My view is that if you really want to know God and you really want to understand Him, the best way to do that is know your Bible. And I always try to tell people, if you really want to know God, read the Bible. Don't go by what I say or someone else. And if we teach anything, if I teach you anything or somebody else does, always go back and verify it by the Bible. I'm not afraid of that because I just tell everybody what the Bible really says on any topic to the best of my knowledge. And if somebody can find something that's wrong about something I say, I'm perfectly willing to admit it if I made a mistake on it. But anyway, getting back to this thing about the deconstructing, what they do is they put ministers on the defensive first to answer a bunch of hard questions about the Bible, and some ministers can't answer them. They don't know enough about the Bible to answer them. They've learned a lot of things in theological school about doctrines, but they don't really know the Bible that well. And then the other thing is they're defending doctrines rather than actual scripture. And if they try to do that, they're going to lose all the time. You've got to be straightforward about the Bible. So that's advice I would give to any minister. Just be straightforward and admit, if somebody points out something that God did, don't make excuses for him. God doesn't need people out here making excuses for him. I'm not somebody that feels like I've got to defend the actions of our creator. He can do anything he wants. He's God. And I am never going to try to, accuse God of doing wrong or anything like that. Who am I? I'm just a created being. I'm as the foolishness of this world that the Bible speaks of. So I just accept what the Bible says. So now again, let's go back to some of the complaints and things that I've seen, and some of the things the deconstruct people are doing. Now, the biggest thing I have seen, other than just people attacking things in the Bible, like she was saying, well, is the Ten Commandments just? Is God always loving? What about all these terrible things that are terrible to her that are in the Old Testament that God did, or something like that? Or then she tries to find differences between Paul and Jesus, and a lot of the others are doing the same sort of thing. They're trying to claim there's contradictions in the Bible. Much of this is due to misunderstandings of the ministries that they had. And I don't really have time in this particular video to address all that. I could in a very lengthy video, and perhaps I will do some videos giving explanations as I understand it from the Bible on why these so-called seeming contradictions and why God was different in the Old Testament as opposed to the New. And it's not as simple as saying, well, they were under different covenants. As far as why Jesus behaves different than you see God in the Old Testament, it's not as simple as that. It's a little bit more to it than that. And maybe I will do a video on that. But right now, I want to address the deconstructing people. Now, here's the biggest thing that I said I got a complaint with you guys. You don't have any answers. And if you do have answers, the answers are beyond belief. They're more unbelievable than the things that you're claiming are unbelievable about our Bible and what's in Christianity. For instance, let's look at how we got here. To me, it makes far more sense to believe that we are here as a result of intelligent design from a creator. There is no way I can look around at all the things that are in this earth. I'm talking about the plant life, the animals, the people, the just everything that exists, and even the stars and the sun and the moon and everything that exists. I can't look at that reasonably and think it just came here by random chance. I believe it required intelligent design. It's kind of like I brought up this example. Let's say that a person were to walk into New York City for the first time and they were to talk to somebody and say, "Hey, can you tell me anything about the history of the city?" And they said, "Well, a long time ago, there was nothing here. And then over time, buildings just started popping up, and the subway, it just was there. It took billions of years, or millions of years, or however long, but it took a long period of time. But they just started popping up, and then suddenly were trees and grass and movie theaters and taxis. I mean, who in the world would believe that nonsense? Well, just as I can't believe that, there's no way I can believe that the creation that I see around me, as complex as it is, came about by random chance. But let's take it even a step further. The scientists believe that there was this Big Bang. And I actually have watched some videos about the Big Bang Theory, just to sort of see what they're saying, see if they had any information that maybe I didn't. It turns out, no, they don't. The problem with the Big Bang Theory, other than the fact it's ridiculous, is that they admit that they cannot figure out how the original material came to be that caused the explosion. They said scientists are still working on that. Well, they're not ready for prime time, as far as I'm concerned, until they can come up with a reasonable explanation for that. And in order to do it, they're literally having to say that nothing plus nothing equaled something. That's as silly as like saying 0 plus 0 suddenly equals something. We know that's not going to be the case. Well, if 0 plus 0 or nothing plus nothing cannot equal anything, then it proves the Big Bang thing is ridiculous. It never happened. It's completely fiction. It's beyond science fiction. It just couldn't have happened. So we need to discount that whole stupid theory. But that's the best they got. They ain't got anything else. And then when we go beyond that, let's look at the silly idea of evolution. They believe that over time, there were these microscopic creatures in the sea. And then over time, they turned into fish. And then some of the fish got out on the land and they started turning into land creatures. And then over time, monkeys, and then monkeys became men and all this kind of stuff. And what's funny about this is I have these deconstructor people and atheists talk about how silly they believe that some of the stuff in the Bible is. Like that a snake could have talked in Genesis or something like that. And one guy even was objecting to rainbows, and he was basing it on science. Well, if you people really think, I'm talking about any of the deconstructors or the atheists, actually think that the Bible version of it, of an intelligent design, is silly and hard to believe, and that you just can't believe it anymore. How do you think that I look at it when I hear your explanation or explanations of how we got here? And then even worse than that are the ones that don't have any answers whatsoever. They just say, I don't know. I don't know how we got here. I just know I don't believe that there's a God. That kind of stuff is just ridiculous to me. So I feel like that I kind of got a little bit of entertainment value out of some of the deconstructing videos and amusement of it. But I also am trying to wonder how in the world anybody falls for the deconstructing videos when they do not have any answers for anything. They can't tell us how they got here. And all they can tell us is we don't believe in God anymore. But I do believe that the biggest thing that I am seeing on these videos, the biggest thing I've seen in the complaints, is that they don't like God. They don't like things about him. And, my feeling about that is, it's one thing if you're making videos and the whole premise of your videos is, I just choose not to serve God anymore because I don't like him, because I think he's mean. I think he's unjust. I think things like, well, is hell forever, a just punishment, and things like that. If you're choosing, like the devil did, like Lucifer did, not to follow God because you don't believe in the way he runs his kingdom, at least I could understand you, when you're making these complaints. But when you make a video and the whole premise of your video is to tell me that God's not real, you came to realize it's a fairy tale and God's not real, and you can't tell me how we got here. You didn't, you talk about how brilliant science is, and how much better science is, and it makes more sense. And you tell us how superstitious the Christians are and so forth, but you can't tell us any reasonable explanation for how we got there. I'm just not going to take any of you serious. And I am shocked when I see people look at your videos and actually, say, well, I used to believe, but because of your videos, I don't believe anymore. Something like that. I just can't understand that. It's illogical to me. Just like it's illogical to me that anybody leaves the faith because they don't believe in a doctrinal thing in the Bible. I just can't see that. You were told wrong. You were told that God is love, but now you find out there's other attributes to God, like God's jealous, at times, or maybe God can be angry, or maybe God can get vengeance on people. And you see how God destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, things like that. And you see these stories in the Bible, and that, I don't share your views. I love and serve the Lord. But the thing is, I could understand you saying, that based on what you see in the Bible, that maybe he's real, maybe he's not, but you choose not to serve him. At least you counted the cost. I can understand that. That's logical. But even though I don't understand that you would choose hell forever in making that decision, but I can see how somebody might logically choose to do that. Lucifer did. He gave up everything. But I cannot understand how in the world anybody says that this led to them not believing in God anymore, and you got no better answers. Now, I will say this. If you want to look at it and you want to turn around and say, yeah, but where did God come from? And my best answer for that is, and this is what I really believe, I believe God exists out of time. I believe that God created time for our benefit, but I believe he exists out of time, just always been. Now, you may say, well, that doesn't make any sense to me. All well and good, if that's what you want to say, but I am going to again point out to you that Big Bang can't happen because nothing plus nothing cannot equal something. The scientists have no answers for this. So that means that there is no good other way that we got here but intelligent design. Think about the creation, think about all that exists, and try to determine within your own self logically, does it make any sense that this stuff got here by random chance? And if you are going to say that you are going to accept Big Bang, even though there's no answer for how in the world the original matter got there, think about what you're believing. There is this mass that just keeps expanding forever. I don't even know how that's supposed to work. I really don't. How does it keep expanding forever? But they say it is. And it's going along creating things along the way. And somehow we got here by random chance. If that is the case, then that is your God. The creation itself, the matter, that becomes your God because it is your creator. It's a different God. Now you may not like that, and you may try to say something different about it. It's a very unintelligent God because it's just doing things by random chance, but it's still a God. That's basically what it is. It's the creation creating itself. And that would make everybody down here part of the creation and make them all gods. That's silly and ludicrous to me. And again, it's impossible. But nevertheless, that is what science is teaching. And science gets things wrong, folks. I don't know if you've noted, but science changes all the time. If I was to actually take the time to do it, I'll bet you I could come up with some of the silliest things that science used to teach and deconstruct science. And perhaps I will do that in the future. It might be a fun project to do. But just to give you just something offhand that I do know science was teaching before, back when I was in school in the 70s, I remember this. Science was teaching that thunder was caused by clouds bumping together. that was also known in the 60s. They were teaching the same thing. And I know that because I even saw it on an episode of the Andy Griffith Show where Andy was talking to Otis the drunk during a thunderstorm, and Otis was scared because of the thunder. And Andy was telling him that that's nothing but clouds bumping together. And he's like, oh, is that what it is? That was the consensus back in the day, and how important consensus is, consensus and peer review of the stuff you write is everything with the scientists. That's supposed to settle the matter. Well, that's what they believed back then. And in addition to that, in the 70s, we were being told in school that we were on our way into a new ice age, and they had everybody all scared over that before they determined that that was all hogwash, and then it was global warming. And of course, the scientists also had us underwater. They had cities underwater by now. Should already be a bunch of our major cities should already be underwater because of global warming. Has not happened. Scientists make mistakes, but I bet you I could have a lot of fun deconstructing science. But I'm not going to do that on this video. I just really wanted to give a general response to the people that are deconstructing Christianity and the Bible. And I'm just telling you, from my standpoint, I'm not impressed with it when you can't give anybody a decent alternative, a real something that makes some sense as to how we came to be, something better than the Big Bang Theory and evolution. Until you can come up with something that actually makes some sense, I really don't think the deconstruct people are ready to be attacking Christians as being superstitious. Now, as far as telling you were never saved or any of that kind of stuff, I would never say that to anybody. The reason, and I mentioned this to somebody in a comment, one of the deconstructors, that he's had people say that. The reason why that people are so insistent that you were never really saved is not because they're putting you down. It's because it goes against a doctrine that they teach called unconditional eternal security. They believe if somebody's really saved, they can never lose their salvation, and they don't want to give up their doctrine. I don't believe that. I don't find that doctrine in the Bible. It's extra biblical doctrine, but people hold to it. It's another one of the reasons why that you run into these situations where people try to defend a doctrine over the Bible. I'm not going to defend doctrines. I'm going to defend my Bible, but I won't defend doctrines. But I'm saying to you, if I was to go back and, as I said, look at all the scientific stuff out there that they're saying, and that's all you've got, is what science is saying, or nothing, unless you got your own theories of how we got here. And I'd sure love to hear that. But unless you got something better, then you need to consider that maybe God's real. And you need to consider that if you are attacking this God and he is real, consider what the Bible says about this God. Many of you already over there talking about how he's not all loving, how he does these vengeful things, how the Bible talks about eternity in hell, which you think is unfair, and all this kind of stuff. Think about the kind of God that the Bible really talks about. You obviously know something more about him than some of the ministers do. Think about that. Do you really want to tick this God off? I mean, it's only if he's real, it's only by his grace that you're still here right now. Because like some of them didn't get another chance. Ananias and Sapphira, they didn't get a second chance. They didn't even know they were about to be there one moment and dead the next over lying. So what I would tell you is consider what you're doing before you keep attacking God. I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm just telling you this just from common sense. You don't know really how we got here. You're only speculating. Then when I see some of them on there saying, they came to realize that all this stuff's a fairy tale and not real. How did you come to realize that? You don't know that. You just came to disbelieve. And so before you keep doing that, and I know some of you are dependent on sales. I know like Christy's out there selling t-shirts, and stuff like that. And I know she's got a big business going with it. And I know she makes money off of her videos, as do the other people, because you get a lot of views. You get it, on these videos. It earns you money. You're monetized. I get all that. Look, I understand. But what I'm just telling you, think before you attack what a God that may or may not exist in your mind. Seek to make sure beyond any doubt that you're right. And right now, the best you got from science is Big Bang that can't happen. And so my advice to you, whether you take it or leave it, is you need to think before you keep posting attack videos. I would suggest that you start really seeking a little bit, seek more, and do it with an open mind. Now, I know one of them said that he really liked being a Christian and it really was hard for him to leave the faith and quit believing. But again, I'm going to say the same thing even to him. What's the alternative of how we got here? A Big Bang that's impossible. So again, think about this. Maybe if you really, I'm talking about, I don't remember what this man's name was, but he said he really enjoyed being a Christian, but now he's come to be an atheist. Well, maybe you were right to begin with, sir, and maybe you ought to reconsider that maybe God really is real, and maybe you can go back to being happy as a Christian. You said you were before, maybe you can be again. But I would advise you, think twice before you keep making these deconstruct videos. And whether you do or don't, that's neither here nor there. I don't care one way or the other. I don't take any of them serious, but I want you to know why I don't take them serious. I don't think there's anything to your videos that would in any way, shape, or form shake my faith. I can't really understand how anybody ever has had those videos shake their faith. I find most of the stuff illogical as far as the reaction that you got from it. It would cause me to be upset with religion, maybe, and denominations and things like that that put doctrine over the truth. And it would make me search for answers in the Bible, but it wouldn't make me stop believing in God. Well, like I said, I didn't intend to make a video on this topic. I certainly wasn't looking to get into, you know, coming against any particular other video makers. That's not something I normally do. It's not something that I really care to keep doing. I'd rather just, I'm planning to get back to doing some Bible teaching or something along those lines in the future. I may end up having to make more videos like this. I don't know whether or not I'm going to get any responses from it. I actually was over at that lady Christy Burke's videos watching some of them, and I noticed some of the comments, and this one guy said, when people deconstruct Christy. Now, I'm not calling it that, but some people, I must have been deconstructing her, it's kind of a retaliation or whatever. But they said that a lot of the ones that are doing it are her fans that go into these places and they start putting comments in their stuff. Well, hey, if people want to do that, more power to them. You want to come in here and you want to defend what she's doing and the other deconstruct people, do it. But I would really, again, until you can come up with something better than a Big Bang that I've already told you, there's no way it could happen, because 0 plus 0 will always be 0. Unless you can come up with something better than that, it's not going to impress me. You can attack the Bible. You can come in there and you can tell me all these stories that you don't believe. You can show me what you call contradictions. And it's not going to impress me at all, because you still have no answers for how we got here. That's the bottom line of it. And if you wanted to, I would be happy to answer your questions, I suppose. Maybe I could do a video on that. If you want to come in there and you want to show me what you consider to be problems with my Bible, I'm not telling you I won't do it. I would happily do it. But I'm just telling you that it won't matter, because until you can come up with something better than your explanations, nothing you're saying is going to shake my faith, and you're not ready for prime time as far as I'm concerned. But that's just my opinion. I'm making this message from a truck. I am a truck driver. I have been a pastor in the past. I'm still a Christian. I have as strong a faith as I ever have in the past, but I am a truck driver. I'm making this video inside the cab of a truck, so that's why the lighting's not so good. I'm actually on the road right now, and I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and make a quick video and upload it, and just let you know what I think about the whole deconstruct thing. And you are welcome to make comments if you like. Well, I'm going to end it with that. and hopefully I'll be back with some other videos in the near future.